So here you have river stones, driftwood, which they make into part of the construction. Some people might have been to Awasi, Atacama when it was split across two sides of the road. Now the plot has expanded slightly and you have all 12 suites, there are 12 now, on the same side of the road. So that's a nice sort of detail if anybody, if anyone didn't know that yet. A lot of the suites can be interconnected as well. I'm just going to show you through because this little one isn't going to let me. Here you have the look of the room, thatch roof, adobe walls, lots of local touches. And then the communal areas have lots of open areas as well, so that you can make the most of these amazing stars in the desert. This is the swimming pool. And so the idea with Awasi is you've got few guests, private guide per room, and you just have time to really stop, enjoy the details, eat delicious food, and just really get under the skin of the destination. So that's why we're being joined by Nicolas today to really hear about that. So I'll pass over to Nicolas. Thank you so much. I think you're on mute. There we go.
Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. So first, let me share my screen so I can show you. There you go. There you go. So let me tell you a little bit about my background. I born in a small mining town that is called Chuquicamata. It's only 15 minutes away from Calama, here in the Atacama Desert. I studied geology here in Chile and also in Argentina. And a couple of years ago, I began to work in tourism. First, I began working in tour agencies here in San Pedro. We were doing excursions, 6 excursions with really big groups. We're talking about 20 people. And 4 years ago, I started working for Awasi, and it has been really, really challenging. It's really incredible what we're doing here. So let me ask you something. What comes to mind when you're thinking of a desert? Probably you're thinking something is going to be like this kind of images that you have right here. A lot of sand dunes, endless sand dunes. But what do you think when people talk about Atacama Desert? You're going to realize that it's completely different. This desert is the driest desert that we have on the planet. So where we are located, if you look on the left side, you're going to see a map, a satellite image of South America. And right here, there is this red square. Right here is Awasi, San Pedro, Atacama. And this is Chile, the longest, it's really long, skinny country. Well, if you look right there, you're going to find this area that is really brownish. That's the Atacama Desert. It's the longest desert that we have on the planet. Has like 1,000 kilometers long. Can you hear me? Can you hear me well, Gabriel?
Yes, I can hear you, Nicolas.
Can you hear me well? Okay. I wasn't sure that wasn't working my mic. So I was saying that right here you have the Atacama Desert. It's the longest desert on the planet, and it's the driest desert. And the reason why it's so dry is because we have right here the Andes Range. The Andes Range, and also in the coastline we have another mountain range that is called the Coast Range. So all the evaporation that is produced in the Pacific Ocean and the clouds that are moving are not able to pass over the coast mountain range. And the same things go for the evaporation and clouds that are passing by the continent and cannot cross the Andes Range. So it's going to create an area that's going to be really, really dry right here. On the right side, you're going to find a map of the second region of San Pedro, second region of the country. And right here, you're going to find the main city that we have from San Pedro. It's called Calama. So you have to do a trip of 1 hour for reaching San Pedro Atacama. That is right there. In Calama is the nearest airport that we have. And we have a lot of flights. I mean, because it's a mining town, we have at least 10 flights per day. So it's really easy to get to San Pedro Atacama and get to Awasi. And also we have international road with Bolivia and also international road that goes to Argentina. So creating memorable experience is something quite unique. It's really hard. Actually, I think there's not any proper formula to create a memorable experience. So, but what I know is that there's a couple of key factors. And one of the key factors for me is going to be empathy. When you really manage to understand what your client wants to. So that's something that is really important for us. Our thing that is going to be really good is how we manage the time. For us, the concept of luxury is going to be the time. So we try to use the time as best as possible. In that way, the client, the guests are going to really enjoy the whole experience that we have right here. Or a key factor for me is going to be basically choosing the right guide. And well, that is going to be in base of the information that we receive, information that you send us, or when a guest book Awasi, they answer a small quiz with a couple of questions. They're gonna give us an idea of what kind of interest they have. In that way, we can assign the proper guide. So that's basically how we do it. And well, in terms of the guiding team, the guides has different experience. The guides has more knowledge sometimes in some areas like photography, astronomy, wildlife, hiking, mountaineering. So it's really important information. So in that way, we can assign the proper guide for the guest. So other thing that we have is we have four-wheel drive cars, different kind of cars. In this case, SUV, we have pickup trucks that's going to allow us to do different kind of activities. For instance, I don't know, if we go to an area that have more rough terrain, we're going to use pickup trucks. We can load bicycles and do more activities. But if the guest doesn't feel so comfortable for getting into the cars, we can actually change for USB. So it's good. USB cars. So that's going to be more easy for them. Well, once the guests arrive here, we do a briefing and we explain the area, and that way we can plan the different excursions. And we use different kind of maps. And for instance, this is the map that we use basically for explaining the area that we can visit, and we have divided the area depending of the distance, the driving distance from Awasi, from San Pedro, and it's right there on the map. You can see that San Pedro Atacama right here is Awasi. So we divide it once again depending of the driving distance, depending on the what you can see right there, and also in the altitude. Altitude is something that is really tricky here. The guests cannot stay. The idea is that the guests stay at least for a night. In that way, they're gonna be able to reach the highest areas that we have right here. So the first area is this bluish one that you have on the map right here. Is the zone A, and we call it the South Flat. It's over 2,100 meters and 2,700 meters, and that's where you're gonna find San Pedro Atacama and Awasi. And then we have the zone B that we call it the canyons, that is over 2,700 and until 3,700 meters above the sea level. So it's really beautiful, this brownish area where you can do a lot of hikes in different canyons, different ravines with waters and streams. Then we have my favorite zone. My favorite zone is Puna, the zone C. It's over 3,700 meters above the sea level until 4,700 meters. A lot of wildlife in that area. And then we have the zone D, that is the high mountain, that is over 4,700 meters, and it's basically the Andes range. It's where we go to do mountaineering. It's really, really beautiful, that area also. The views that you get from there is amazing. So let me talk a little bit about the zone A, so you can get an idea of what you can find right there. And as long as you see the presentation, you're going to realize how different this desert is from what you can find, for instance, in Sahara, in Africa. So it's really, really unique. So once again, the zone A, the South Flat, that is where you're going to find San Pedro Atacama. And take a look. This is a picture of the town. It's a town that gets really crowded. It's one of the main attractions that we have in the country. So a lot of backpackers, a lot of people. That means that when we go to the places, I mean, if you go in regular excursions, it's going to be completely crowded. In our case, we managed the time to go to the places and try to get the place completely empty without tourists, and just local people and a lot of wildlife. That's what we're looking for. That's going to make this place so unique. So in this image, you're going to be able to see the church that is on the town. In this church, you're going to find really cool things. There's a lot of key that the culture live on the architecture, you know. For instance, native people believe in the volcanoes. They believe that the volcanoes were guardians. And take a look on the wall. You're going to find this triangular shape. They're going to be representation of the guardians of the volcanoes. And you can find clues like that in every single place on the town. Right here, 5 minutes distance from Awasi, you're going to find this beautiful fortress that is called Pucará de Quito. The culture that is developed here is, we call it Atacameños. They prefer to be called Ligalantay, and it's a culture that used to trade with different cultures like Incas, like with the Spanish, with the Tiahuanaco culture, and they were used to trade things. So there was a lot of exchange of things, and that is happening until today. I mean, we now receive people from all around the planet, so that's really, really interesting. You can find people from everywhere. So this picture that you're seeing right here is a picture that took a couple of years ago. So this is just the entrance of San Pedro Atacama. It's really, really beautiful. It's really dramatic, the landscape. On the background, you're going to be able to see the Andes Range. It's really, really beautiful. So this is a place that we go. Is actually 20 minutes away from Awasi, and it's in the Sol Range, and amazing landscape. And it's a place that is right next to the National Reserve Los Flamingos. And the cool thing is that not so many people know about this place. So when we go there, we are the only ones, and we can get really unique things like this. This is a beautiful sunrise on the Sol Range in this area that we call Valle de la Micro. And right here, even in this area that is so dry, you can see a stream that is salty water. And even in the water, you can see how the crystals are growing. And other thing that is really cool about this picture is that you can see also the volcanoes on the background, huge volcanoes. And that's how the salt is precipitated and for creating this landscape that we have. This is my favorite hike that we have on the Moon Valley. It's a hike that we call Cari. There's only 3 hotels allowed to do that hike. So when you're walking there, you're basically alone. It's amazing, that place. It's a different way to actually see the Moon Valley, the highlight that we have here. This is another picture. We're doing horseback riding in the Marsh Valley. Sometimes we're riding the horse down the sand dunes, you know, downhill is really, really cool and unique. Amazing landscape. And this is just 5 or 10 minutes away from San Pedro, from Awasi. This is San Pedro River. And in this picture, you can see that some areas are going to be really green. And right here is where native people, they develop their agriculture. So we can get to those places also. It's really cool. Beautiful sunset right there. The main volcano you have right there is what we call Licancaur. It's 5,600 meters, 5,960 meters above the sea level. Beautiful place. Yeah. Another hike on the Moon Valley, also in the Sol Range. And this is Rio Salado. It's another stream that we have right here. Sometimes you can find evidence of the culture on the rocks, you know, kind of like a petroglyphs and things like that. This is a picture that was taken in the north part of the Atacama Salt Flat. Once again, you can see the reflection of the main volcano on the water. This volcano is impressive. You can see it for almost every single excursion that you do here. You can see right here in this picture, pictographs, you know, ancient drawings that the native people did for telling the history of what was happening with this whole trading market. And you can find really weird petroglyphs like this one that is linked to crops. It's really, really, really unique. Not so many people have seen that petroglyphs before. Right here, you have another one that is a llama that is giving birth, you know, and really, once again, a lot of history. In this zone, you're also going to be able to see different villages. They're really near to San Pedro Atacama, and for instance, this place, actually no one is doing excursions to that place. We are the only ones that go there. It's really cool. Sometimes we have a sunset there. We set up a table. I remember this couple. This couple stayed for just a couple of days, so they didn't have enough time for doing all the activities, but we managed to do something special for them. So they were doing the excursion in the Moon Valley. Meanwhile, another guy set up a table. We built the sommelier here, and we did a wine tasting just for them with a beautiful sunset. Sunsets sometimes can be really unique, like this one. You can see a rainbow right there on the driest desert on the planet, and sometimes sunsets are going to be like this one. This is a picture I took a couple of years ago. It's amazing, amazing sunset. Yeah, and once again, the main volcano. Other thing that we do in this zone is we do stargazing. Stargazing is also another main attraction that we have here. I mean, we have the clearest sky on the planet, and I mean, it's incredible. And we do excursion that is the only excursion, like not private excursion for the guests, but we have a maximum of 6 people there. The sky is incredible. Right there, you can see the guy Paulo. Paulo has so much knowledge, and he loved to talk about how native people used to see the sky, how they used to see the different constellations. They are not, actually the constellations are darker spot on the Milky Way. It's quite unique, the whole, what he's talking about in the excursion. It's really, really unique. Other picture that you have right here of the Milky Way. This one was taken, we were doing excursions with the guests that he wanted to do, taking pictures of the Milky Way, you know, so we were doing every single day excursions, leaving around 4 a.m. in the morning for going to the places, set up the cameras and get the pictures. And then we saw the beautiful sunrise and have breakfast there. So everything is like a kind of like a tailor-made here, you know, we try to do that. Well, if we continue, we're going to continue with the Zone B. In the Zone B, the altitude is a little bit higher, 2,700 meters above the sea level until 3,700, and it's this brownish area. So the canyons, and in the canyons, you're going to find there's more wildlife, there's more vegetation, beautiful ravines. Doing hikes there is amazing. Well, in this area, you can find hot springs, so you can do a hike there and then end up getting to the warm water. That's really cool. More wildlife right here. You can see guanacos on the Domeco Range. You can find this beautiful place that we call Rainbow Valley. So right here, you're going to find hills of different colors. Sometimes are going to be colors like greenish. You can find reddish, you know, purple. It's really, really unique, the place. We usually, when the last day, we go to the airport, we make a stop here and we do excursion on the way out. So that's really, really cool. You can also find villages that are going to be a little bit high in altitude, like this one that is Rio Grande with the church. Tourism doesn't arrive yet also to this place. So when we visit the place, it's going to be just native people and us, you know, and it's really, really unique. If we continue, we can continue with the Zone C. We're talking about over 3,700 meters above the sea level until 4,700. Zone C is my favorite one because you have a lot of wildlife in this area. It's what we call the high plateau. You're gonna find landscape like this one. Amazing geologic formation with the volcanoes, you know, as a background. It's incredible. Also, you can find villages that are going to be in high altitude, like this one. You can find the Church of Cupo. Flamingos, things that people are not expecting to find at that altitude. That's really cool. There's a lot of flamingos there in the high plateau. Sometimes we do activities, the weather is really, really rough, but allowed us to go to the different places because we have four-wheel drive vehicles. So for us, it's easier to get to those places. In this case, after we did a drive we visited a lagoon there that is called Lejía, and then on the way back we did a downhill from 3,400 until 2,400 meters above the sea level. So it was really, really nice, you know, with the view of the Atacama Salsa, the volcanoes as a background. You don't have to pedal, just enjoy the view. Is amazing. This is the lagoon that we visited in that excursion. Lejía Lagoon, amazing place with the volcanoes. Once again, there's an active volcanoes on the area also. So going there for having breakfast is unique. I mean, it's an incredible experience there. You can find a lot of different colors on the different wetlands that we have also in the altitude, and you can find different kind of wildlife. If we continue with the Zone B, you're going to find different wildlife once again. For instance, this giant coot, vicuñas. There's a lot of vicuñas. Vicuñas are used to see people there, so when you can actually get really close to them and get really good pictures. Also in this area, you can find the geysers. Take a look at this picture. In this picture, you're gonna see that there's a lot of buses there. It's completely crowded. Everybody goes to the same time. We don't want to see that kind of landscape. So when we go, it's completely empty. I mean, it's crowded with wildlife, and that's what we're looking for. Get really close to them, you know, get really good pictures. This is another picture of the geysers, you know. It's completely empty in that time, you know. We're the only ones there. You can see the activity of the water. It's really, really beautiful. Once again, different kind of colors. Those are microorganisms that are living in boiling water, things that you're not expecting to find there. Beautiful. If you go there, you have some, if you have a breakfast with the sunrise, it's really, really unique. Yeah. This is one of my favorite places, what we call Tara Southland. It's something that is surreal. This is going to give you a sense that you are driving in the desert off-road, you know, for getting to the Southland. It's incredible. Beautiful geologic formations there. And once again, we try to manage that the place gets completely empty. We're the only ones basically that reach some places here. Those are the cathedrals. And once you continue driving, you're going to be able to reach, you're going to be able to continue to reach the Tara Southland itself. And once again, with flamingos and the volcanoes in the background. Beautiful colors. Yeah, it's incredible, the whole area. This is our lagoon that we have in the high plateau. It's what we call Miscanti and Menique. In that time, the whole lagoon was completely frozen. So once again, for getting there, it's a little bit rougher because we have four-wheel drive cars, we can get there. This is another Southland, it's called Talar Southland. It's a really, really unique place. It's amazing. Also in this area, people know it as the red stones. And it's the red stones because in the area, you're gonna find also that rock formations, you know, beautiful rock formations. Yeah. Oh, take a look at this picture. I love this one. Right here, you're gonna find Maya. They stayed a couple of years ago, and when we were doing the briefing, we give to Maya this present, this little llama. She named it and she called it Glama de Llama. So every single place that we were heading, we were putting that llama for making these kind of pictures. The cool thing that happened is that 1 year later, I received an email from their parents. And in that email, they shared to me, they said that they were so dramatic, the whole trip that they did. They basically, they decided to make a costume for Halloween for like Llama de Llama. So that's Maya once again, you know, with the costume that they made. So that's, I mean, the way that you connect, you create a memorable experience. That's something unique. Once again, Tara Southland, and right there, there's another guest there, you know, taking the pictures. We were the only ones there. Amazing place. Beautiful volcano with lupins there. If we continue with the area, you're going to be able to access to the C zone. So D zone, sorry, is the high mountaineering, high mountain in over 4,700 meters. So we go to climb volcanoes. Some of the volcanoes are going to be active, and it's quite unique experience. Once you reach that area, I mean, it's incredible. People sometimes they don't realize they can do that, and they're not expecting to do something like that, to climb a volcano. Once we offer that possibility, it's incredible once they manage to reach and accomplish the summit. And right there you have a active volcano, it's Putana volcano. And well, other thing that I did is basically I put a lot of excursions that we do right here, so you can get an idea how long it's going to take for knowing most of the places that we visit. So right here you have a planning for 21 days, and still there's more places that are not here. So you have a lot of activities that you can do, and we're not thinking this just visiting the places. I mean, you can do like a riding bicycles, horseback riding. You can do a lot of things here. It's incredible, this place. So in conclusion, if you manage to understand that Atacama Desert is the place, I mean, if you compare it with what you can find in Sahara and Mojave Desert, but this is completely different, it's unique. And that's why it's one of the main highlights that we have on the country. So,
thank you so much. It's been really useful. We have a few questions that have come through. I'm just going to ask. So Lucy Slater is asking, what time do you get to the geysers to avoid the crowds?
Well, this going to depend on the interest of the guest. Sometimes we can go in the afternoon, sometimes we can go in the morning, you know, but also it's going to depend on if you are in summer and winter. If you go, for instance, in winter, you can go late in the morning, arriving there around 10, 11, and the weather is going to be it's going to be cold, so it's going to be dramatic. You're going to have this huge columns of steam. But it's going to depend on what is happening right here in San Pedro Atacama also. But basically, leaving here 6 a.m. in the morning, we're arriving good time for getting there around 7:30, and it's the perfect time for me. Yeah, if you want to see the place dramatic. If you want to visit the place completely empty, in the afternoon. Yeah.
Perfect. And then Johnny Livingston just asking about when we might be able to reopen. So that's something I would have touched on a bit more at the beginning if I wasn't a little bit distracted. So sorry about that. So the thing about Awasi is that the team is in place, and this time is being used for everybody to, well, these webinars are one thing we're doing to sort of learn from each other, improve in any way that we can, do a bit of training, try to get the hotel, you know, everything up to as high a level as we possibly can, because it's so unusual to have so much time without guests. So we're trying to see it as a positive thing. Very lucky with Awasi that the staff is being supported by the owners of Awasi. And so basically the hotels are ready to open as soon as the conditions allow. That's the thing really. It's very hard to say at the moment when exactly that will be. Argentina has said that they'll open their air routes again from September. I don't believe that Chile has put an actual date on it, but we're just watching and seeing, and we will be ready when the moment comes. So it's not as if, you know, the whole team had to be let go or anything. Awasi is still very much there and just waiting for the right time to come. So we have another question, which is Pascal. Where do guests come from and then go on to? So there's a complete combination. Atacama is often one of the highlights of a sort of South America or a Chile trip. You do Atacama, Patagonia, Santiago, perhaps Easter Island, or you might combine it with Argentina as well. We have a couple of promotions which we call the Golden Triangle, including Atacama, Patagonia, and Iguazu. And with these, you have discounts and also free nights in the connecting cities. So I can send over more details on those. That's quite a classic trip. They're real highlights of South America, these 3 destinations. And as Nicolas has really been explaining, the thing about Awasi is to go to these iconic, incredible places, but avoiding the crowds and seeing it in a way that is really much more in fitting with nature and with the untouched nature of, you know, what we want to be focusing on. So another one is it possible to add a road transfer over to Argentina? Nicolas, how often do people do that? I would just say that isn't included in the rate. The airport transfers are, but some people do go over that's that beautiful Rainbow Mountains, aren't there, between Salta and Atacama? Yeah, how often do people do that?
It's not that often, but we receive guests that are coming from Argentina. Also, a lot of people that are coming from Bolivia that are doing the trip to Bolivia. And that's really good for us, because when people do the excursion in Bolivia, they're going to be spend at least 4 nights over 4,000 meters above the sea level. So once they arrive here to San Pedro Atacama, they're not going to have the planning depending on the altitude. They can move freely around the area. And that opens so many possibilities. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so really, I mean, anything is possible. There is the road that goes, you know, you're on the border there. You can go up to Bolivia. It's very easy. The road goes one way up to Argentina, another way up to Bolivia. So all sorts of people, you know, people do all sorts of things. I would say traditionally on the higher end, people don't do across to Argentina as much as the lower end. But it's just really, you know, that's where you come in as a travel advisor to be able to recommend this, combine different destinations and, you know, let them see different things. There is a huge range of landscape and nature and culture to be seen in this part of northern Chile and also northern Argentina, and it's very, very varying, as I hope you've seen from the photographs in this presentation. Does anyone else have any questions? Well, how long to acclimatize, says Pascal. How do you find, Nicolas, how long do guests take to acclimatize?
The shortest amount of time that I recommended for staying here could be 4 nights. Yeah, for going to altitude, recommended at least spend 2 or 3 nights here in San Pedro, 2,400. And that, once again, is going to allow them to reach other areas. If the guest is interested to doing mountaineering, I will say 5 or 6. Yeah, because we have to make a plan for training in altitude, doing hikes in different places at different altitude, and that is going to give us the chance to reach the summit. Yeah.
So that's why we split the excursions as well into zones, because often you do the lower ones, the salt flats, on your first days, and then you build up. The great thing about Awasi is that if somebody wants to go to really do quite extreme things like climb a volcano, then we can do that, or at a much slower pace. Lucy Slater's asking, what has been the longest guest stay at Awasi Atacama? Do you know?
Wow. Yeah. We remember we have a couple of last year we have a guest stay, at least he stayed like a six night. Yeah, was really long, 6 or 7 nights. Yeah, and we have, you can see on this list we have so many things that we can do. It's so dynamic, the area, that Atacama has something for everybody. That's the cool thing. Yeah.
So we're still waiting for someone to buy Nico's 21-day stay at Atacama. But, you know, maybe with this new way of life, with everybody taking things slower, maybe we can encourage people to do longer stays. So the idea here is to really show people that it's not just a case of having, you know, a couple of highlights. There's a huge amount to see and a lot of interest that you can get into. There's another question, Nico. Johnny Livingston says, at Awasi Iguazu, where Johnny's recently stayed, they organize communal activities in the evening, including wine tastings and a boat trip. Do you offer any communal activities at Awasi Atacama except for the stargazing?
Yeah. For instance, we have also wine tasting activities here in the hotel, live music, things like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have it. Yeah.
So sometimes we'll do things like pisco tasting, right?
Yeah,
yeah, pisco sour making lessons, wine tasting. One thing to note with the Awasi hotels is each one has its own sommelier. So the wine list is very much their own domain. So they can choose which ones they would like. So you'll never have the case of, if you're combining the hotels, of being like, oh, I know this wine list. You'll get to explore different ones from the region or ones that they've chosen. So it's always exciting to do wine tastings at the different hotels. Yeah.
Other thing that people are not expecting to find here, we have wineries here. Yeah, we have the second highest winery on the planet here in Atacama. Actually, I didn't put it on the list. So you have 21.5 days there.
Amazing. Lucy's also asking, do many Awasi guests go to the Alma Observatory?
Well, in terms of Alma's excursion, that you have to book it in advance. You know, it's something that you book it with the people from Alma. It's really close to San Pedro Atacama if we bring them there. And actually, the people from Alma that do the excursions. Recommendation is that you let it know to your client that Alma is there, and so they can book the excursion with at least 1 or 2 months in advance. Yeah, the last season was really hard to get someone at last minute, but sometimes we manage to arrange it. There's a waiting list. When the guests arrive here, we can put it on the wait list. We go to where the bus pick up all the people that are going to Alma, and we try to, we are the first one there arriving, so we are the first one in the waiting list in case someone booked the excursion and didn't do it, didn't have time for getting here. So we use the spot. But my recommendation is booking in at least 2 or 3 months in advance.
In advance. And that it's a special interest, Alma, you know, it's a real sort of taking stargazing to another level. And I think it would always be worth explaining to your guests that it's not an Awasi, you know, it's not one of our expertise excursions. You're doing it with Alma, like Nicolas mentioned. And Lucy's saying, is it worth it? Have you done it, Nico? Have you done the Alma Observatory visit?
Well, I think it's more for someone that is really into the whole stargazing, you know, because it's not that you're going to be able to reach the antennas, you know, because it's a radio telescope. So there are 66 antennas in the high plateau over 5,000 meters above the sea level. So basically they bring you to the base camp. to the headquarters. And right there, they're going to show you a couple of pictures, the equipment that they have, but you're not basically going to see the antennas. It's really hard to get there. It's an area that's really controlled. It's the biggest observatory that we have right now on the planet. Yeah.
Is it more just to sort of see the way that they work? I've heard that it's more like going to space, the way that they put on suits and they have to have oxygen and things like that. What's amazing is you can just see it when just from driving by. Those who've been will know that. And it's incredible how high the altitude that you reach in the Atacama is incredible. How you can see 5,000 to 6,000 meters up. Yeah, so it's quite accessible. And I suppose it's just to get a bit of an insight. Is there something like a museum or something that you can look around?
They're going to have a couple of images, you know, the equipment once again, but it's mainly talking about what ALMA is doing in that period of time, you know, in that moment. It's basically more like a scientific talk, you know, but it's not, I think it's going to be more interesting for, I guess, to do stargazing with us, you know, with a telescope. It's going to be something more unique, you know. And once again, Paul has so much knowledge about the stargazing. It's incredible what he knows. Yeah. Also, if you're interested to see the antennas, where we can climb one of the volcanoes that is right next to ALMA, you can see antennas from above. So that's really cool also. Yeah.
Fantastic. Any more questions? I hope that kind of shows what the difference is, how much the aim of Awasi is really to show you a different side. And it's quite incredible, actually. Someone was telling me recently from the UK who'd been and stayed at Awasi Atacama that they went and did a sundowner just in one of the main spots overlooking the Moon Valley. And there were loads of different people lined up with their sundowners, different hotels, different tour groups. And the guide said to them, do you want to just go a little bit further up? Do you feel like going further up? And so they walked for just, I don't know, less than 10 minutes longer. And they had this view with absolutely nobody. So that's the whole thing that the Awasi crew is trained to do, to really try to push a little bit further. And it's amazing how much people, we just follow each other. There's always this kind of joke about Brits just joining a queue just because it's a queue. But if you just step outside that, you really can see these places in a completely different way. And so that's one thing that makes Awasi really unique. So yeah, as ever, just let us know if there are any questions. Thank you so much to Nico for the time. He made this whole presentation. It's his first one that he's done, and it's a real pleasure. I think he's done an excellent job. So thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you for having me.
It was really great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Neil
coming.
So we hope that you can come and visit Awasi Atacama in happy times soon.
Hopefully.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nico.
Bye.
See you. See you soon. Bye-bye.